Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. This is the May 16th weekly In Deep on the Delta fishing report. As you can see, the wind's up a little bit. The farming has been going hot and heavy. There is a lot of pollen in the air, a lot of peat dust. So this week's report is going to be sponsored by Kleenex brand tissue. And if I make it through this report without sneezing or itching my eyes or blowing my nose, it's going to be a miracle. So let's get this thing going, and we'll get done with it. I'll get home and start sipping on a little NyQuil. Okay, so just a so-so week for largemouth bass this week. Stripers are still in the system. We'll go over stripers here in a minute, but before we get into the report, I want to give one last shout out to the first annual TNT Kids Fishing Derby. That's going to be this Sunday, May 19th, up at Lake Berryessa. I'll put that information up there. There's a number on there that you can call and get information if you have a young angler that wants to get out and do a little fishing or learn about fishing. Okay, let's jump right into it. And I will say I have a special guest. Ryan Hall is going to be with me today, and I talked to Ryan a little bit this week. We went out fishing. I'll let you know how we did. Ryan's going to give you some suggestions on what he would do if he was out here. And Ryan is the young man that took third place in the recent BAM tournament here. I guess it's been about 10 days ago. So Ryan Hall will be on here in just a minute. Water conditions up north, down south, we're talking 2 feet of visibility. Central Delta is running around 5 feet of viz. We have had some breezy days, so if you are on a windy bank, you may have a little more or a little less, depending on where you're at. Water temperatures have rebounded from, remember a couple weeks ago they were pushing 70, maybe a 72 in there. We had that cold front come in, it dropped down to about 60 degrees. Now the water temperatures are right back up, pretty close to 70 degrees. We're going to have some warm weather coming in, so by the time you guys get out here on the weekend, it's going to probably be 70-degree water temps. Light pressure out here, not a lot of people fishing. We have had a lot of wind. Nothing that you can't deal with. It's been that steady 15-mile-an-hour wind every day. You gotta just deal with it. So we have had some breeze. Let's see, one thing that I will say is kind of a trend. The state has been spraying quite a bit. They have really focused on spraying surface vegetation. So what a lot of people are saying, especially the punchers and the froggers, they're seeing a lot less surface vegetation that they can throw frogs over the top, mats, and maybe punch water. So, the subsurface vegetation is great. It's in good health. Everything looks good. Give it a few weeks, and we're going to start seeing some more bloom for the surface vegetation. You guys that like to punch and frog, I think by midsummer we're going to have plenty of topwater vegetation to fish over. So that's just what we're dealing with here. Sea lions that were super heavily infested in the Central Delta, I have not seen as many of them. They're still out here, but I think they're moving out kind of towards maybe Frank's Truck. I talked to Rob Cloutier from the Bass Hole. He said that this week for him, his reports have been just so-so on the largemouth, but there has been an increase in the striper action. It seems like the fish that were in the Central Delta are kind of moving out that way. There are a lot of small stripers in the Central Delta, and there are some good-sized stripers out here. And I want to hit up a local bait maker. I got a picture of my friend, the Fish King. Fish King's been out there, and he's been using this bait right here. It's made by a local bait maker, Delta Glides. He's specializing in striper baits. They catch fish, they catch bigger fish, and I know my friend Fish King has been out there, and he's been really throwing. Those are kind of a wood bomber type bait, and he's been doing really well. So if you want to pick up a bait by a local bait maker and check that out, I'll give you the number for this Delta Glides. Nice little bait, and it's reasonably priced for a handmade bait. So let's move on from the stripers, and we'll get right into the largemouth bass. And I want to hit up my buddy Kenny Vang. Kenny is a friend of the channel, and one of the things that Kenny does is a lot of bank fishing, and he's really been concentrating on bluegill. and he reported that he's seeing the bluegill really spawning, and that's important. I want to thank Kenny for giving me that information, because as these bluegill spawn, they're going to get more and more active, and the largemouth bass are really going to start to key in on bluegill. So my first suggestion for this week is think about when you get out there to make sure, whether you're throwing maybe a crankbait or a chatterbait, something that's going to represent a bluegill, or even a frog, throwing it across mats, make sure you look at the colors on these fish. I got a few pictures I'll throw up there that Kenny sent me. Make sure you've got you know, a little bit of kind of that green pumpkin, maybe a little blue flake in something, maybe some yellow or orange on the belly, and that's what the largemouth bass are going to be chasing here in the next couple weeks. So the bluegill are in full spawn. We're seeing a lot of fish in post-spawn, and one of the things that everyone is saying is that the post-spawn females are getting harder to catch. They haven't recovered yet. Everybody's catching a lot of small fish, but it's harder to catch the bigger fish. That's going to change here in a couple weeks when the post-spawn females, you know, fully recover from spawn. They're going to start feeding. The last couple tournaments have reflected the smaller weights. Last week's Wednesday night, or not yesterday, but the one before, 1824 won that. That's a little bit, you know, underwhelming. They've been getting 22, 23, 24 pound bags. So that was a light day. The Delta Bass Club had 18 boats out on their last tournament last week, and I think, what was it, 12 pounds, 12.6 won that. Really kind of underwhelming. These guys are all Delta guys. They know what's going on out here. I will give a shout out to Chris Eisen. He was the co-angler. He won the co-angler side with one fish, but that one fish was a 7.7 pound hog. So congratulations to Chris for that big fish. But all in all, everyone is reporting kind of junk fishing, no real patterns going on. You know, you go out there and you fish what's in front of you. Let's hear what Ryan has to say, then we'll get back up, get out, and we'll finish this up. And like I said, I'm going to get back to my NyQuil. All right, as promised, I've got a special guest today on board, Ryan Hall. Ryan, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Ryan is with RB Bass. He's also one of the top tournament anglers here on the Delta, or on the West Coast.
Thank you.
Just happened recently you took a very respectable third place in the BAM tournament. That was a couple weeks ago. You are a fairly local guy. You know the Delta really well. And this is the weekly report, and we try to give information on for the weekend anglers, what can they do when they come out on the weekend? What are you going to look for? And then maybe once you tell us what you look for, the depths, color of the water, maybe you're looking for tule, rock, how fast you're going to move around. I'll talk to you about a few baits, and maybe you can give some suggestions for some of the guys that are coming out this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. You know, if I was coming out just like now, just haven't been out here in a while, you know, I know the spawn's still going on, and we're at the end of it. You're probably going to see some more post-spawn fish. Me personally, I'm a puncher. I'm definitely looking for stuff to punch. However, that doesn't always pan out. So that's where I'm going to rely pretty heavily on searching. So whether that be with a bladed jig like the Shock Blade Pro I was throwing from Picasso, or that be a top water bait, a buzz bait, a plopper, something like that. I just want to keep moving, and I want to learn as I go, and just absorb all the signs that the Delta is giving me, because it takes a little bit, but you can put that puzzle together if you pay attention.
Are you starting in any type of location? Is it going to be a rock bank with tules on it? Is it going to be tule islands? Is it going to be flats? Where do you start?
I mean, it could be anywhere. You know, I try to have a general idea of what's going to be happening. So with right now being that spawn, post spawn, I think the easiest tide to catch them on is the high tide. It makes it a lot easier for your recreational and weekend anglers. It allows you to be able to throw at visible targets, whether it be tules or a tree on the bank, or something like that. It allows you to throw at the visible targets, definitely.
So once you get out there and you start fooling around, what would 3 baits that you would definitely have on your deck? And you know, we have to keep in mind, a lot of the weekend anglers may only be holding 3-4 baits, rods on deck, and they have to make those rods work. What are those 3 or 4 baits that you would all the time have on the deck?
Yeah, so year round, it's almost the same here on the California Delta. always going to have a stick bait, whether you're throwing a Cinco or a bait like that. Definitely want to have a Cinco style bait tied on. It allows you to use it as a follow-up bait. You can flip it around that cover that you're seeing, whether it's tules or the trees or grass clumps. So you can flip it in there. Definitely want to have that. A bladed jig, like the Shock Blade Pro or you know, the other brands that they have out there. I'm definitely having those, and top water.
Okay.
I'd be having top water. So I throw a lot of buzz baits.
Pretty standard. And I saw the color of that, your bladed jig there.
Yeah.
Looks like a bluegill.
Exactly.
How about when you, your first choice of worm, let's say you're throwing a Cinco, what size and color would you be looking at?
Me personally, out here on the Delta, I don't throw any smaller than a 6-inch. So I start with a 6-inch Cinco. Green. This time of year with this watercolor, it's going to be a green. The only time I stray from that green pumpkin-esque is really early in the year when we have those, the dirty water, you know, January, February, sometimes March, I'll go to a black and blue. But for the most part, the Cinco is going to be, for me, 6-inch green pumpkin on a 4-aught Gamakatsu EWG hook. The one thing that's really nice about the 6-inch, it's a bigger, heavier bait. So when we get these winds like we have right now that are coming over these trees, the 6-inch is a whole heck of a lot easier to cast and keep in place.
Okay.
The thing about the Delta, and a lot of people don't realize it, and it's where I notice when I take people out, you have to be a good caster. So if I'm throwing a buzz bait, I cannot land it on that target because one, it hits the water, it's a little louder, but two, unless you're really good with it and you can like for me, I can get it started and get it coming immediately, but a lot of guys, it'll hit the bottom, hit the water, it'll go down 2 to 6 inches, and then they have to bring it back up. By the time you get it up, you've pulled it 1 foot to 2 feet away from where your target was, so you're not even going to get bit. But so like here, we're sitting, they can't see it, but there's a lot of scattered grass. I would see the grass clump or the lane I'd want to throw in, and I'd get as far back in it as I could, or find a way to land it and bring it through it clean, whether that be going through another lane. But primarily where that shows up is going to be the tules. If you're throwing at like tule points, do not land it on the tule point. You need to have your boat addressed properly to where you can go past the point and come through it. And then also as you're passing it, run down the sides of that point as well, but without landing it on that ideal spot.
As we all know, it's that one perfect cast, and you don't want to blow that cast. So
absolutely.
All right, great tips, Ryan. And for those of you who may want to hear a full video with Ryan, we're gonna sit out here, and Ryan's gonna tell us how he got that 3rd place finish. And I think you had the biggest bag first day. You had almost 28 pounds.
Almost 28, yeah.
And you'll tell us. Give us some ideas on how maybe we can go out and catch a 28-pound bag.
I'll try.
Okay, check out that full video. It'll be Ryan Hall, How to Win the West or something like that. So Ryan, thanks for coming out here, and let's see if we can't go catch a fish or two tonight.
All right, let's do it.
All right, I want to thank Ryan once again for coming on and sharing that information with you. And like I said, we're going to have a full interview with Ryan coming up in hopefully I'll have that up in a week or so. You might have noticed I missed my Tuesday video that I usually post up. I have a lot of stuff going on as far as videos and people that I've been talking to and fishing, so I will be try to post every Tuesday, and we'll have some action videos. I'm going to do a video on running the tides, and I haven't done that one yet. It's an important one, and I'm hoping to have that one up next Tuesday. So you guys that want to learn more about delta tides and how to run the tides, make sure you check out that video. So what have I been doing this week? I've been out sneezing and coughing and blowing my nose a lot. I have been catching a lot of fish on worms. Not a lot of fish. I'm making a lot of casts to catch a few fish. I am catching some smaller fish, but if I stick to a worm and I throw it around the base of tules and I make enough cast, I'm getting some nice 3 to 4 pound fish, 4.5 pound fish. That's my number one choice. It would be just a green pumpkin worm. I have, Ryan and I fished last night, and we really concentrated on topwater baits. It was a little bit underwhelming. We got bites, we got fish. Ryan pulled one maybe 3.5 pounds just before dark on a buzz bait. I caught a nice one on a bubble walker, but we had several fish. Just as many fish came up and refused our baits as fish that came up and bit the baits, and that's leading into that seasonal post-spawn that we've been talking about. The bigger fish, and we caught quite a few small fish, but the bigger fish that we were seeing tracking or come up behind the baits just weren't taking them. Both those, I know a couple of fish that I caught, I saw them come after the bait a couple of times before they actually ate the bait, and those were my bigger fish. I think Ryan was throwing that buzz bait, and the one that he had just come up and nailed it, but that was just after dark, and we just kind of said, that's a good way to end the evening, and we kind of went home. So with that, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And until next week, get on out here. It's nice, light pressure out here, a little bit of breeze, but it's nothing that you guys can't deal with. And you're going to have some fun. The fish are biting. You're going to put up with some small fish, but it'll be fun for you. You might even catch a big one. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.